So, should profound autism be a thing? Should it be a separate diagnosis? Let's talk about it. A little background. Before 2013, Asperger's and autism were two separate diagnoses under the DSM V. In 2013, it rolled things all together, and they're now listed under the umbrella of autism spectrum disorder. So there's no longer a separate diagnosis for Asperger's. Instead of using subtypes of autism, what they did in DSM V was they differentiated by the levels of support needed. So level 1 autism was less needs, level 2 was moderate needs, and level 3 was very high needs. Now, some parents were never on board with this. In 2021, the Lancet Commission, I gotta read this to get it right. The Lancet Commission on the Future of Care and Clinical Research in Autism put out a very detailed paper that's got a lot of really great stuff in it, actually. A lot of really good suggestions and a very strong emphasis on the need for individualized services. And that article really praises the changes that the DSM-5 made in terms of moving to levels of support needs. So they're on board with it. But it does have one pretty controversial recommendation, and that is that they believe there should be a separate administrative label of profound autism to provide guidance for people who have very, very high support needs. As I said, they're not suggesting a separate diagnosis. Here are the criteria that they suggest. Someone who is over 8 years old, requires 24-hour care, and has a cognitive ability measured by IQ of less than 50 and or non-speaking or minimal verbal ability. Now, some parents are calling not just for a separate subtype or label, but actually a separate diagnosis altogether. The most prominent of these is Alison. She's one of the authors of this paper, actually. She's the president of the Autism Science Foundation, another organization which has, as far as I can tell, no autistics on their board. She has a controversial history herself. There was a film that Autism Speaks made called Autism Every, which was essentially made to show how horrible it was to have a child with autism. It's no longer on their website for, for very good reasons. She's interviewed in that, and what she says, and I quote, and this is with her autistic daughter in the room wandering around, quote, "I remember that was a very scary moment for me when I realized I had sat in the car for about 15 minutes and actually contemplated putting Jody in the car," it's her autistic daughter, "and driving off the George Washington Bridge. And that would be preferable to having put her in one of those schools. And it's only because of Lauren, the fact that I have another daughter, that I probably didn't do it." That's problematic. It may be natural to feel that way. I know what a hard position she's in, but to say it in public and to say it in front of her daughter, who very well may understand what's going on, it's pretty bad. It's bad. It's really bad. Now, I do understand some of what she's saying. She feels betrayed by the autistic self-advocates who basically are lobbying against some of the research and some of the treatment protocols that she believes are so necessary for her daughter. There is something of a cultural divide between autistic self-advocates and their parents, and she says that self-advocates and parents will never agree on these matters. I don't know if I agree with that. I do know we all agree on one thing, and that is that services are inadequate for autistics at all levels. It's most visible for those with very high needs. Now, essential to this whole discussion is the question of who speaks for an autistic person who can't speak for themselves. Is it the caretakers? Is it parents? Is it self-advocates? Parents believe that they're in a better position than self-advocates to say what their child needs or what treatment is appropriate because they're with them every day. Self-advocates, on the other hand, say that they are fighting for every level of need. YouTuber Bethany has done a really, really wonderful series on this exact question of who speaks for the non-speaking autistic. She's done in-depth interviews with the parents, with non-speaking autistics, and with service providers. I'll link to that below. It's really excellent, and it really reflects her very thoughtful work on her channel as a whole. But back to profound autism. So let's look at the pros and cons. So, the pros. Parents have expressed that people with extremely high needs have no place that parents can go for assistance. We're talking about people who may have trouble dressing, who may need help going to the bathroom. They may be children, they may be adults, but they are completely in need of constant care. ABA programs won't take them, apparently. ABA is an issue too, so there's a lot of issues here. But the point is that parents with children like these have no place to go, and so they're left on the hook 24/7, and that is a rough life. I do not deny that. They believe that by creating this label, profound autism, they will have access to more intense and better services for their autistic children. Second, they believe that the definition of autism is so broad that it is virtually meaningless. So, as Singer points out, an autistic can be someone who is 40 years old and in diapers, or it could be somebody who is a graduate of Harvard Law School. And never the twain shall meet, right? So people who want this approach, they believe that they have a better chance of getting the services they need than if autistics are all one group. So what are the cons? Well, first of all, the way profound autism is defined by the Lancet improperly conflates IQ, verbal abilities, and the need for care, when in fact they're often not linked. Someone who is non-speaking may not have a lower IQ, may not need 24-hour care. Not that IQ makes any sense at all. IQ is just fucked. The second problem is that it encourages segregation, and with it, more restrictive conditions. And self-advocates believe that that's almost always destructive for the autistic, no matter what their support level. Until very recently, the Judge Rotenberg Center used electric shock therapy to basically torture autistics into good, acceptable behavior. And there were parents who thought this was the way to go because they just didn't know what else to do. Okay. So third, it underestimates the potential of people with high support needs. If you take someone that you presume at age 8 is non-speaking and maybe has a IQ of less than 50 and appears to need 24-hour care, it's going to be easy to just write them off, write off the potential of someone who fits those criteria, and it doesn't really allow for change. And the inclination is going to be to institutionalize. The thinking is likely to be, you know what, there's nothing anybody can do. So where do I stand? Boy, I don't have those high support needs. I don't live with somebody who has those needs. And I've never been in a position to care for anyone with those needs. So I don't know what it's like. It seems to me the issue here is not nomenclature, but the state of infrastructure, which of course is a systemic problem that can't be solved in a YouTube video. I guess the question is, will a change in the label change the system of service delivery? I mean, it doesn't seem like it would all by itself. But will it bring more money? I don't know. So, what do you think? Do you think that profound autism should be a separate diagnosis? Do you think that they ever should have combined the definitions? Tell me your thoughts. I hope you found this helpful, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.